Welcome to Bad Parents, a podcast about three bad parents who are trying to raise good kids. She's Shauna.
Hello.
He's Ryan.
What's up?
And I'm Johnny. A Tell It Like It Is podcast for parents to laugh, cry, and to make you feel better about your parenting. Welcome to the Bad Parents podcast. What episode is this?
Ooh.
Oh, you have the answer?
I do.
Oh, 22?
Unbelievably under.
Oh.
37.
This is episode number 36.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So welcome to episode 36 of the Bad Parents podcast. My name is Johnny Garbett.
I'm Shauna.
I'm Ryan.
And good news, bad news. Good news. We're going to see you in the fall.
Okay.
The bad news is this will be the last podcast until the fall.
Right.
And when we first started doing this, I didn't think it would be as fun as it has been. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, how much do you really want to hear about us talk about our kids and the way that we do things? Like, at some point, people will be like, okay, enough. We get it. You're bad parents. But I think it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite episodes that we've done is we had, who was recently in the news, Keith Sutherland. And he talked about his parents and whatnot. And his father recently had passed away. And you can go back and listen to that. Can't tell you what number that episode is, but you can go back and try and find it. But that was just like, I thought it was pretty good. That was one of my favorite episodes.
Well, because I think, too, you hear sometimes about a celebrity passing away and, you know, you're so disconnected from, but he spoke so much because it's a parenting about his dad and about the kind of dad he was and what it was like growing up with him. So it was interesting to have that perspective.
And he's an A-list celebrity who's local, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we're based out of Toronto, so it's cool to hear him just tell stories about his dad, but also about Toronto and the city and growing up here.
Yeah.
That was episode number 15.
Oh,
If you
wow.
want to go back and check that out.
Wow, we still have his booze here, too. We don't drink very much, eh?
It's weird, right?
Still half a bottle left.
And he talked about his parents and growing up in Toronto and where we're from. And it was kind of cool. And this sort of connection that Kiefer Sutherland had with the radio station. Our regular day job. And I thought that was pretty rad. Do you guys remember I asked your kids what they thought about
favorite.
you?
Right.
If you were going to ask me my favorite, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that was November 1st of 2023, episode number 6. It was called Game Show Ambush, where I had contacted your spouses.
Yes.
And asked them to ask your kids different questions about the parents. And you had to like try, it was almost like match game.
Yeah.
You had to like match them up. And I thought it was, some of the answers were very funny.
Yeah, enlightening too, to see what your kids think about what you're doing.
And it's proof that we're not lying, that we have kids.
Yeah.
And it's proof that we're not lying about it being bad parents.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you guys necessarily matched up as much as, you know, maybe you should have as like being with the parents of those children.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you know them.
I thought it was good. So the interesting thing about us coming back in the fall is there's going to be a new layer to the podcast where right now you are hearing us and probably for the better you don't see us.
Yeah.
But that's all going to change come when we come back, season number 2, where you can not only hear us, but if you want to watch it, there's going to be a video aspect to the podcast as well on YouTube and on social medias and whatnot, which is kind of interesting and fun. And are you guys going to
try to lose weight? Yes. That was part of the contract in that they wanted to start right away. We're like, not till the fall.
It's right.
Gotta drop a quick 40.
We've got to get our fall bod on.
It's like, you know, when new TV shows start, everybody like, you know, dresses up and like looks good and whatnot. Like I feel after like episode 3, you're just going to like, this is really how we are.
Yeah,
right?
I think
like,
so.
This is like, you know, I'm wearing like a toque, like for some reason, and, you know, just interesting things like that. What are you guys doing for the summer?
Well, as we're recording this, I am going to Florida tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah.
We did a lot of travel podcasts as well. You can go back if you have any.
I hope you listened
episodes,
and took some of our advice as you're about to fly with 3 children to Florida.
But I'll be honest. Now, listen, it might be hell. It might be. But I've driven so much, and we've talked about it in this podcast. I've driven so much with my 3 children since they were all born. Like since I think the first time we went out east to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, I think my eldest son was not even a year old.
Holy smokes.
And my wife couldn't breastfeed. And so I remember like having to go into gas stations, like Pioneer or whatever, and get them to warm up the water so we could heat it and pull over so my wife could feed the baby while I try to nap. Like it's It's been a lot of fun, a lot of memories. I'm sure a lot of you listening right now have children, or as a child, you have a lot of memories of road trips, but I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done
So
with
is this their first flight?
No, we've done it before. We flew to Florida before, and they were even younger. So the one thing that's good about driving, unless something happens to your car, you're in control of what your future is.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the one downside of flying. But the upside is you're there the same day.
Yeah.
And it's a long drive. Florida's a lot harder than driving to Nova Scotia. And so, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it all works out well and we have a good time.
I don't really understand geography, but the fact that where Rye's going is 2.5 hours away by plane makes it so like the pendulum is so swings towards flying than driving, because driving is 24 hours, right?
Oh, God.
So unless you're like, gung ho and you just blow right through, and a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I've had to stop.
Yeah.
And so it's a 2-day event, like 12 and 12 or whatever.
No, thank you.
2.5 hours is like so
I know.
it's right there.
You know what changed my mind? So last year we drove, and we were with a bunch of families, but one family flew. And so in the morning they got up and had breakfast, and they kind of chipped away at packing to leave, right? We shared a house with them. They chipped away at packing. At like 11 a.m., they're like, we'll see you later. And then they go to the airport and they drop their rental car off, and they had a cocktail in the airport. It's like, even though it's more than 2.5 because of
course,
getting it, it's still no pressure. And so long story short, they took a picture when they got home to say they were home, and we were still having some drinks around by the pool at like 10 o'clock at night. And so like within 10 hours, let's say, argument's sake, they were like from Florida in their own bed.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember we drove home the next day, and I remember, 2 days after that, we were trying to find a hotel in Atlanta area, and we couldn't find a place to stay. You think of how many hotels are right off of major highways in the States.
That's wild.
It took us 4 hotels to find a place. I said, I'm done. I'm never doing it again.
That was your breaking point.
So I am blowing my load on this trip.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm doing. What about you, Shauna?
A lot of home stuff. This is the most boring summer in terms of plans, but we have a lot of stuff we need to get to. We have a lot of sports through the winter and then the summer, and we just haven't done a lot with our house. We moved a few years ago, so we got to do gardens. We got to do, there's like a wonky well in the front that we have to either fix or get rid of. I've got to get brakes on the car. I know it sounds so boring, but we're going to stay home. We're going to become adults. and we blew our load in Dominican recently for money wise, so we don't have a lot to go on another trip, but it's going to be good. We have a pool. We bought the house because of that, and the kids, we're just going to do local stuff.
I think when you have a pool, you have a vacation every single day if you want it. Like I'll tell you right now, Charlene and I talked about it, and I just don't think we could put a pool in, but if we could, I said I could easily not go on vacation for years.
That was the whole plan.
Yeah.
That's why this Dominican thing kind of got excited about it, but that was the plan, was to not do that. That's why we bought a bigger house with the pool. But yeah, so hopefully.
So you're like, hey, let's spend $7,000 to go swim in another pool.
That's stupid. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, so because like I'm way more financially above all of you. I went to Dominican, I've been to Vancouver and Disney in the last year and a half, and I'm financially ruined. So this summer, it's a lot of staycation-y sort of things. Yeah. We're renting like a cottage on one of the Great Lakes here in Ontario. But other than that, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But, as we look back on the podcast that we kind of thought, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Some of my favorite was the fact that you could reach us at any time at badparents@curiouscast.ca, and just not so many. We've done a couple of mailbag questions where you've asked us questions, and we'd always love to hear from you. If you have any questions of episodes that you would like to hear us talk about, that's amazing. But just like the overall sentiment of just like, hey, thanks a lot. I feel the same, and the sort of connection that you make through the podcast. And yesterday was my daughter's graduation from senior kindergarten into grade 1. And in my head, I'm kind of like, is it really a big thing? It's just a natural progression. You're not really, you're going to be going to grade 1 regardless of the fact. And I was sitting in the audience yesterday, and I was watching her do this song with like a little bit of choreography. And
here we go.
There were tears streaming down my face. And I said to myself, every summer matters. Even though we don't have anything planned, the plan is to have a great summer.
Yeah
regardless of what it is, right? Because our kids are getting older. And the cool thing about this podcast, I think, is we have different perspectives of parenting because our kids are so different.
Yeah.
Like
age-wise.
Jack is less than a year out of diapers. And, you know,
my Jack's about to get his own car.
Right. Like, like that's the
right.
sort of juxtaposition in which this podcast has as far as perspective goes. And, you know, next season, hopefully will be just as great. And hopefully we'll have better guests. If you know anyone I would like to have them on, please. Bad parents
like a famous cousin like Avril Lavigne.
Sure. Or like even one of the lesser known Kardashians.
Sure.
As well.
Rob Kardashian?
Sure.
Listen, you know Rob. I'll even take the other guy.
The guy married in?
Scott Disick.
Yeah, sure.
I'll take Scott Disick.
I'll take him too.
You know, my wife watches that show, and sometimes I'll just be on the couch going through the phone. And I'll get caught up, and I don't want to, but it's for some reason. There's a reason why it's so popular. And like Scott Disick is like he's so skinny now. He's so skinny now. And do you know why? How he lost so much weight?
Was he in the Ozempic?
No, he might have, but the excuse in which he gave on the show was, "Did you know?" He goes, "Do you know how many calories are in a can of ginger ale?" And she's like, "Kinda." And did you know that he goes, "Do you know there was sugar in ginger ale?"
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, "Yep." The fact you don't know was kind of interesting. And he would crush like 24 cans of ginger ale a day.
Not knowing that
like he thought it was like ginger, like good for you.
Yeah,
it was like a medicinal drink. And he just stopped drinking ginger ale and shot himself up, I guess, with Ozempic.
Yeah,
and just did whatever. So if you know anybody who you'd love to have on the podcast, we'd appreciate it. You guys have anything else to say? Like, it's a short one today. It's a short one today because
I feel a little sad.
Yeah,
I know but it's almost like television shows, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And listen, if you're listening to this, you can still listen to us. You know, we do a morning show in Toronto, so you can still listen to us. It's Q107. It's 107.1 on your FM dial.
Or the iHeartRadio app.
Correctamundo.
Download that.
So you can still listen to us daily from 5:30.
I know, but we're all sort of spread out too through the summer.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It feels very much like we're going off to school, right?
Yeah.
So Johnny, you should be crying for us right now.
I will. Don't worry. When Ryan leaves today to go to Florida, I will be sad because I'll miss my friend.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Well, thank you. You're the quarterback behind this podcast, truthfully, Johnny. So thank you for all you've done. And we've had a lot of fun and looking forward to getting back at it in the fall.
Thanks to Roz, too, for everything that she does. We have a great team here, and I'm excited to get back and to see us in video format.
So, badparents@curiouscast.ca. If you have anything to say over the summer, go back and listen to past episodes. We'd really appreciate it. And we will see you at some point in the fall.